open spaces. And what we do with any antisocial behaviour situation, we will inevitably consult with partners around it, and we will look at which agency is best suited to lead the response. It won't be that one agency says, over to you, nothing to do with us anymore, but we will look at the way that the antisocial behaviour is presenting and work out which of the relevant agencies, whether that's the local authority, whether it's the police, whether it's housing, whether it's health, all of whom have distinct powers to deal with antisocial behaviour, however it presents. We will look at which agency seems to have the best tools available to them. Quite often it will be a combination of things that the police can do and things that the local authority can offer or the health authority can offer. What I am pleased to report in relation to antisocial behaviour, particularly in Nailsea, is actually from last summer, so summer 2017, not summer 2018, we absolutely hit a peak in the summer of 2017. That was due to some inevitable demand and some abstraction from the team that we absolutely recognised could not be allowed to happen again. And the team in front of you, including Pete, who's sitting on the same line as you towards the end, who's the beat manager for Nailsea, and along with his PCSOs, and the sergeant, who, forgive me, was intended to be here but already had a commitment with a community meeting down in Churchill, and promised me he'd get here. He'd better be keeping to speed limits, but trying his best. Months and months in advance, we began to plan with local partners and local businesses and local stakeholders in this town how we made the summer of this year just gone better in terms of the antisocial behaviour that went on in Millennium Park. If you are a local resident that sometimes experiences that, it's going to be a lot harder for you to feel some of those benefits. Damage in and around that area this year was down by 40%. Nuisance was down by 48%. Environmental was down by 18%. Now, the difficult with that is if environmental is excessive noise, that can be quite difficult to manage. If young people are gathering, and we all know in Nailsea, I'm the owner of 2 young people myself, we do need activities that are going to engage and divert young people, the vast majority of whom are not criminals, are not wanted to cause distress, but sometimes don't always bring out the best of each other when they're in a group situation. This summer, this team, and I will embarrass them, unashamedly here, without exception, changed all their shifts, and all through the summer on a Friday and Saturday night, which are our peak times for demand in that area, every one of them worked a late shift when they needed to. Missed events with their families, missed bank holiday weekends and all of that, because without exception every one of them was willing to change their shift. Didn't cost us any money, because that's the level of engagement we've got in local policing here. I'm vastly proud of that. The situation this summer was much, much better. I know, a bit like if you live in Portbury when the motorway closes, it probably is small comfort, but what we have done is invest and got young people to invest in what happens in their town when they're on school holidays. And the situation was much, much better. So no, we still deal with antisocial behaviour. We absolutely deal with criminality, as do the local authority. And it's probably one of the areas that we work best in partnership, certainly around some of the orders and prevention notices and contracts that we have with persistent offenders that can control their behaviour. We've got a host of those things that I can talk to you about in more detail, maybe outside of this meeting. But no, whoever answered the phone to you, I'm really sorry, they were absolutely wrong in saying we didn't deal with it anymore.
Okay, but time for one final question. Oh, I'll see you later. Okay, this gentleman at the back. Sorry, Brian. Yeah.
There was some pretty bad publicity in the Evening Post last year around motorcycle theft. What's your attitude, Andy, on knocking them off the of standing still.
You used to ride a motorcycle, didn't you?
I was a lot younger.
Yeah, I used to ride one as well. So we know about the obviously about the motorcycle theft that we had in Bristol. It's very different actually to what they've experienced in London. What they've experienced in London is people largely stealing scooters, those automatic things, in order to commit robberies and street crime. And the police were largely powerless to do anything about it. And you'll have seen in the news in the last couple of weeks that they've publicised some knocking off tactical contact, it's called, by a Scorpion squad. It's a good name to have, don't they? So actually, we've got lots of problems in Avon and Somerset, and touch wood, well, whatever it is. Moped and motorcycle enabled crime is not one of them. So the problem that we did have in North Bristol, and obviously still got to an extent, is that motorcycles were being stolen in an epidemic, really, and the idiots doing it were taunting the owners and various other people on Facebook through the Evening Post. I'm not sure the reporting was entirely great, always by the Evening Post. And one of our inspectors, Rob Cheeseman, got all over it actually, and worked with the motorcycle groups, who we've now got a very harmonious relationship with. They realise we're doing our best. And motorcycle theft in Avon Somerset's fallen about 50% from that peak when that was being reported. And that's a proper pucker reduction, that's not spin on figures. I mean, have we made the problem go away? We certainly haven't. We've made life very, very difficult for the people who want to do it. We've caught quite a few of them. Comes back to my point that John said, actually policing works where we get to focus on something, which is why I would welcome some more investment. So in direct answer to your question, I haven't got a strong appetite for knocking criminals off motorbikes, because almost inevitably we'll kill one of them. That's what will happen. And one of the reasons why blame is a problem in policing is that we're rightly very highly accountable, but where an officer or member of staff's on the end of a death following police contact, those investigations can last an incredibly long time. Obviously the death is devastating for the family of the people they've lost, but I've seen too many police officers destroyed by those investigations, and I don't want to see any more. So I will only authorise them to do what I think is lawful, appropriate and necessary, and I'm not there on tactical contact on mopeds.
Thank you, Andy. So that brings us to an end. For those questions we haven't answered, very happy to take them after this. So first of all, let me thank Andy Marsh. Thank you very much, and Leanne, and obviously her team. Our team as well for doing all that you've done to get this this evening so successful. Particularly thanks to Nailsea School as well. But of course, what's most important is you. Because if you hadn't been here, we've been talking to chairs, but if you had been, the whole point is the belief that I have, and that this is your police service. And so therefore, as your Police and Crime Commissioner, I'm very open to questions and ideas and suggestions. And who knows what the government may announce on Thursday, but we wait with bated breath. But thank you very much for coming out on a pretty grim evening, and it is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.